majority of people, whether they did knowingly or not, let's say they did, voted for, meaning the majority of people, Rubai Kukule, right? The majority of people have ascribed in some way to this ideology.
That's a good question. Like, what does that mean? Is it under duress? Is it under pressure? Is it real?
Right.
That's a very fine question.
Right.
It's
Or do
very
they
hard
do
to
it
know.
for other reasons?
Correct. I don't know. So that's why Israel's going through all the loops. If Israel act like any other Far East, Middle Eastern country, there would have been like 1 million people dead already. Because
Right.
if this
Not
happened,
even Far East. If they act
especially
like the U.S.
Yeah, especially this is the U.S. Correct.
Right.
Right. When America was attacked in 9/11 and they destroyed Iraq.
They weren't dropping leaflets.
And had nothing to do with it. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, but they did, probably 1 million people died. It's like, okay, that's I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying that's the way the world functions. And but Israel's trying to do everything in their possible because they actually do have morals.
You're saying it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, they're doing it in the right, correct, just way of doing it. They're trying to get the civilians out of there as much as they can. And if Hamas chooses to have civilians as their own shields, that's the death is on Hamas.
Right, of
the
course.
blood lies with Hamas, of course.
Right. So you're saying this fight is nothing new.
This fight is nothing new. In terms of Israel, it's the first. This is the first Muhammad Amalek. This is the first battle with Amalek in terms of Israel history. Because other battles were territorial.
Egypt.
Egypt wanted to sign it and they didn't want to sign it. It may be destruction of the country, the elimination of the country of Israel. It wasn't destruction of Jews. It wasn't to go out to kill Jews. The attacks of throughout history in the state of Israel, whether it's the Yom Kippur War or this, it was to topple the government of this country, but not to kill Jews. That was not the statement of the enemy. This is the first time that we have an enemy that says, we want to kill you, Jews.
Right. Right. I guess some people say that Hamas has changed their charter since they don't have the same thing, but their actions.
I mean, if you kill children, there's no redemption to that.
Right. What just flashed through my head and then
all right, look up
passed. With Amalek, when we said killing every single one, that included kids, right?
Yes.
So what did it mean by that?
That's another question.
And the answer.
But that's also that's biblical.
Right.
Which means that's through prophecy. I would just say like this. This is, first of all, everyone that ascribes to it, but I want to say something different. We don't have the mindset of people that lived a few 3,000 years ago. We have such a different way of looking at the world. There was a certain way of being in the world, especially being in that part of the world. If you just read any history of any nations of that time of the world, this is general warfare. This is the way things were done. That if someone attacked you, you destroy them completely. And it was done again with a bezin. It was done intentionally. But we're not equipped to really understand that in our modern way of thinking. To us, it seems very,
barbaric.
It seems that way, yeah.
Well, the trouble I have with it is then Hamas can say the same thing, that their base then has determined,
that the existence of a Jew is a threat to them.
Yeah, I've killed every single one: the dogs, the workers, the babies.
Yeah, but we don't say that. Let me phrase it a little differently. Amalek, obviously, this is a big thing. The Sefer Ikim. A lot of the Rishonim speak about this Amalek because it's obviously something that has to be understood, and I don't think it's the right time. It's because it's a really complicated issue. But I would just say like this: there is Judaism the way it's expressed in the text, and Judaism how it's lived. And the only way to define what a person really believes in is not what it says in the text. It's how it's practiced. So if you say, I think this guy, not a Muslim, let's say some Hindu guy, believes this because I saw in the Bhagavad Gita, I saw that's what it says. Not true. You have to ask the person. You have to go to a living person and see how it's practiced.
What decisions are you making based on this text?
Yes. Because there's a Torah Shabbat Peh. In other words, there's always a living tradition that overlays on the Torah Shabbat Ksav. So it's written in the text a certain way.
And by Torah, you mean it also Torah Lahavdil.
Lahavdil, correct.
Right.
No, Lahavdil, right? There's a text, and then there's a living text, how it's actually practiced. So if you say, Amalek, Jews believe that we have to go exterminate the entire population with men, women, and children. Not true. We don't do that.
Right.
We haven't done that in thousands of years. So obviously the Torah Shabbat Peh of that is a little different than Torah Shabbat. Even the Rambam's idea, where the Rambam says that Amalek is not a people, but it's an idea, is a big chiddush, is a tremendous novelty. But this is the way the rabbis always thought about it. They thought about it differently than when you're actually seeing it in the text. There's a certain living tradition that Torah Shabbat that gives it. So therefore, you can't say, this is what Jews believe. It's not true.
I understand.
You understand? That's the first thing. So now we're talking about Amalek and transposing into modern areas. We'll say that Amalek represents anyone that has this vision, that wants to kill another. We have to kill that person, not his wife, his child, etc. But himself we have to kill. Then you're saying that it's possible for them to have a living tradition. They do. Unfortunately, that's a living tradition of annihilation. There's a living tradition of death to any infidel. And that is a problem to humanity.
Right, and it has expanded well beyond Hamas.
Yeah, if it's ISIS or any other radical some fundamentalist Islamic groups, these are people that actually believe in sort of like world domination, and anyone that's an infidel, whether they're Christian, Buddhist, or Jew, has to be killed or completely converted. So this is a cancer to civilization. It's not a cancer to the Jew. This is a problem. This is a problem for the human race to survive. Amalek has to be destroyed.